The Engineer is a mostly defensive area denial class. He excels at locking down chokes and slowing the game to a crawl, while being a supportive teammate with his buildings. The Engineer without his buildings is just an intelligent average speed scout. But how is he in medieval mode, where he's locked to only his weapons and no buildings? More specifically, how good are his weapons? I'll be ranking them based off the usual criteria: the weapon's team synergy and 1v1 potential. We don't need to worry about loadout synergy since he only has his melee weapons to use. Random crits will be enabled for the list. So how well does the Engineer do? Will he pass this class or flunk out? Let's go.
Dispenser going up.
To start off the list, we find our base in D tier. The Southern Hospitality, on hit, inflicts bleed onto the enemy for 5 seconds. The drawbacks of the wrench is the lack of random crits and a 20% fire vulnerability. Surprisingly, the vulnerability is the least of its concerns. The lack of random crits hurt this weapon's DPS, all for exchange and bleed damage. There's always health packs around the map, so the bleed doesn't really help too much. But if there aren't ways to heal, the wrench deals 40 damage over time, plus the 65 damage from the initial swing. That's 105 damage in one swing, which is nothing to scoff at. It forces enemies to retreat, but in exchange for not being able to kill them outright.
Yeah.
The Jag is up next. Its stats are a 30% faster construction rate, 15% faster swing speed, 25% damage penalty, and a 20% slower repair rate, with a 33% damage penalty versus buildings. The Engineer can't build at all in Medieval, so the only stats that matter are the faster swing speed and the damage penalty. It's only better than the Southern Hospitality because it could random crit. Sure, it's inconsistent, but at least it has the potential to one-shot light classes. However, the damage penalty hurts, seeing as you only deal 49 base damage and 146 on crits, deserving of C tier. The stock wrench deals 65 base damage and 195 on crits. It has no other stats except for the damage. B tier.
Eureka!
The Urethra effect, damage-wise, is the same as stock. Almost all of its stats deal with buildings, so I won't even go over them. Same goes for the next wrench on the list. The only stat that works on this wrench is the teleport to spawn ability. It's niche, but it works like the bonk for scout or the sandwich for heavy. It lets the Engineer retreat back to the resupply cabinet if things don't look too great. The only downside is that the taunt takes 2 seconds, meaning anyone could close the gap in that amount of time. It's just the stock wrench with an extra ability. A tier. The Engineer's best weapon in Medieval, the Gunslinger. It gives the Engineer plus 25 max health. It can't random crit, but you land 3 hits in a row and you deal a guaranteed crit. It has the same damage as stock, so dealing a guaranteed damage of 195 is an incredible upside. The only struggle is that sometimes the enemy would outright kill you with the random crit, or you might miss your punches due to the terrible hit reg this game has. This weapon brings the Engineer up to the same health as the medic, and he could potentially take down a heavy in a 1v1 with his 3-hit combo. The Gunslinger is typically what you'll see Engineers run in this game type, S tier. It's not surprising that the Engineer is one of the worst classes for Medieval mode, right next to the Pyro. He only has 5 melees and none of them are built for direct combat. The only one built for direct combat, the Southern Hospitality, is the worst one, since it can't even have a random burst of skill. Or crits, I mean. The Engineer isn't notable at all. He's got average speed, no range, and no gimmicks aside from the Gunslinger combo or the teleport taunt. It's best to avoid playing Engineer. He doesn't offer anything for his team like he does in the base game, and he struggles to kill enemies that have a lot of gimmicks. Thank you guys for watching. This is my shortest video since the Engineer basically has no weapons. I'll be ranking the medic's weapons up next. Those ones will be much more interesting and I'll have plenty more to talk about. That's all. See ya.